This episode of the Burnout Recovery Podcast is brought to you by MEGA, your medical indemnity partner. Whether you're starting out in your career or have decades of experience, MEGA helps you thrive with support that goes beyond insurance. Enjoy travel benefits like complimentary travel insurance and Qantas points on your membership, plus education, medico-legal support, access to career coaching and wellbeing resources. Visit mega.com.au to learn more. Insurance issued by Medical Insurance Australia, which has not taken into account your objectives or situation. Before you make any decisions about our policies, please read our PDS and consider your needs. Call us for a copy or visit mega.com.au. Burnout isn't just exhaustion. It's carrying too much for too long. Heidi takes the administrative load off clinicians so you can focus on what matters, patient care. Recovery starts with removing what drains you. Try Heidi for free at heidihealth.com.
Welcome to the Burnout Recovery Podcast, a guiding resource dedicated to healthcare professionals on their journey to overcoming burnout. Spearheaded by Dr. Jo Braid, a certified professional coach and rehabilitation physician.
Welcome back to the Burnout Recovery Podcast. I'm Dr. Jo Braid, and today we're diving into something that affects every single one of us in healthcare, but sometimes we don't have a clear language around it. Have you ever felt that gut-wrenching feeling when you know what the right thing to do is, but the system can't sustain that, or the system won't let you do it, or when you've witnessed something that goes against everything you stand for as a healthcare professional? Today, we're going to give you the vocabulary to understand these experiences, because naming something is the first step to addressing it. Last year, I had the privilege of chairing a panel discussion at the MPLA conference in Melbourne on this exact topic. I was sitting with four incredible experts: Dr. Colm Harney, a dentist and dental legal practitioner, Dr. Jack Margeau, an emergency physician, Professor Julie Brooke-Cowden, lawyer, and Dr. Pamela Eisner-Pasch from Canada and a medical practitioner herself. As we prepared for this panel discussion, I realized something profound was about to happen. Here we were, experts from different countries, different specialties, and all connected by the same concern, that we in healthcare are experiencing something beyond burnout, but we don't always have the right words for it. I was thinking about episodes that I've had as a clinician myself, and I've had a variety of situations where there's been an element of moral distress, including admitting a patient who was from another hospital in another state, clearly not yet ready for a rehabilitation phase, and they were medically unstable and not in the right place of the hospital at that time. But due to bed pressures, they had to stay on my ward, but be under the care of a medic, a different specialty. It's that sense of the system hasn't set this patient up for, success or a good start in their rehab phase, and things are going to take longer because they weren't quite ready to engage in their allied health therapy program. So that's an example of moral distress. Another one would be, for example, a nurse knowing that a patient needs more staff supervision to prevent falls, but they're unable to get additional staff due to understaffing issues, which can be so common, unfortunately. The patient then has a fall and an injury, and the nurse felt guilty and powerless as they couldn't provide the care they knew was right, constrained by organizational limits. Understanding these distinctions between moral distress, moral dilemma, which is actually before moral distress, and then moral injury and burnout, really helps us connect more authentically with our own experiences and support our colleagues more effectively. When we can name what we're experiencing, we can address it appropriately. And that's what I hope you're going to leave this podcast episode understanding. So I'm going to share with you what our expert panel discussed about these crucial distinctions, because getting this right matters for your well-being and your career. So moral distress, Dr. Colm Harney shared Andrew Jamerton's 1984 definition. It's when you know the right action to take, but you're constrained from taking it. So you might not have as long as you would ideally have with a patient, or there are staffing shortages and there's suboptimal care of patients, like that example I just gave. Each incident leaves moral residue, that weight you carry when you've had to compromise your values due to system constraints. Moral injury goes deeper. It's the psychological damage that occurs when we perpetrate, witness, or fail to prevent acts that violate our moral beliefs. Dr. Jack Margeau explained this often happens in healthcare when we're forced to participate in care that we believe is harmful or futile. And I've got a lot more definitions around this. When individuals do something that goes against their beliefs, this is referred to as an act of commission. When they fail to do something in line with their beliefs, this is an act of omission. And individuals may experience betrayal from leadership or others in position of power or peers, which can result in adverse outcomes. So moral injury is the distressing psychological, behavioral, social, and sometimes spiritual aftermath of exposure to acts of commission, omission, or betrayal. And in order for a moral injury to occur, individuals must feel like a transgression occurred and that they or someone else crossed a line with respect to their moral beliefs. The third one to define is burnout. And I think you all know quite a lot about burnout from this podcast and more. We talk about this the most: the emotional exhaustion, the depersonalization, and the reduced sense of personal accomplishment that comes from chronic workplace stress. And here's the key. These three definitions often overlap, but they require different interventions. And the Canadian Medical Protective Association data that Dr. Eisner-Parr shared showed that physicians experiencing moral distress are significantly more likely to be involved in medical errors and experience burnout. Professor Julie Brooke-Cowden highlighted something crucial from the regulatory perspective. About 70% of doctor investigations result in no further action at all. But practitioners experience significant distress during the 2+ year-long investigation process. So this is often moral distress compounded by system failures, taking so long to get an answer, which is more than likely to be no further action. So let's talk about what you can do understanding these three different concepts of moral distress, moral injury, and burnout. Firstly, look out for signs that you might be having any of these three situations. Physically, fatigue, poor sleep, headaches, that stomach churn feeling that I started this episode with. Emotionally, a sense of dread, anxiety, anger, or emotional shutdown. And we know these 4 emotions are hallmark reactions of moral injury, being guilt, shame, disgust, and anger. Behaviorally, I talk about this in relation to burnout, feeling that cynicism, increased absenteeism, blaming the system or others, and psychologically feeling disconnected from your values and beliefs. So what can you do? Start naming it. Am I exhausted from workload? That's burnout. Am I constrained from doing what's right? That's moral distress. Or am I really feeling there's been a transgression by participating in something against my values? That's moral injury. And secondly, can you reframe the responsibility? Recognize when system issues are being placed on your shoulders inappropriately. We know the contributors to burnout are 80% system, 20% individual, just to remind you of those statistics there. So it's more than likely that many contributors towards burnout are coming from the system. I encourage you to find support strategies that work for you. Connect with colleagues who share your values. Speak up appropriately and use that language of moral distress when advocating for system changes. Moral injury may require specialized support beyond typical burnout interventions. Thirdly, know your limits. Recognize when you need to step away or seek a different role. Move every day. I talk about this often, but that opportunity for your body to discharge cortisol is such a great approach for recovery, whichever one of these three dilemmas you're experiencing or challenges you're experiencing. And fourthly, your sleep and recovery. So moral distress can significantly impact your sleep. So how can you help yourself before you go to sleep? What aligned with my values today? What felt misaligned? And what is within my control to change? You can then use the 3-level response framework. So this is at 3 different levels: individual, interpersonal, or organizational. So at the individual level, think of that self-awareness, clarifying your values and seeking support. At the interpersonal level, what peer support is available, what team discussions might happen after a critical incident, or not even a critical incident, but where are those team discussions and is there mentoring available for you? And at the organizational level, where is the advocacy for policy change and system change initiatives? So you might want to reflect at the end of this podcast on a recent difficult situation at work. Do you think it was burnout you were experiencing, moral distress, or moral injury? Secondly, who can you identify in your workplace who shares similar professional values and someone who could be part of your moral community? And thirdly, notice the language you use when discussing workplace challenges. Is it clearer for you? Now, I've gone through burnout, moral distress, and moral injury, being on a continuum there. Share this episode with one colleague and ask them, have you ever experienced moral distress? And start using the language we've discussed today. And you might be surprised at how this opens up important conversations. Finally, if you want to continue these crucial discussions about healthcare culture and professional well-being, join us at the free Healthcare Leadership Hub on School. The link's in the resources of the show notes, and we really need spaces where we can speak honestly about these experiences and work together on solutions. Remember, experiencing moral distress doesn't mean you're weak. It often means your moral compass is working perfectly in an imperfect system. Until next week, honor your values, seek your community, and keep advocating for the care you believe in. This is Dr. Jo Braid, and I'll see you again next week. Ready to take the next step in your burnout recovery journey? Visit drjobraid.com for free resources, all 150 plus podcast episodes, and information about my keynote speaking. Links are in the show notes. Your well-being matters. Protect the asset that is you. If you're a clinician trying to protect your energy this year, hear this. We all know how the invisible work drains us. Those endless notes, follow-ups, and admin tasks that happen after every patient leaves. That's where Heidi comes in, an AI care partner that quietly handles the documentation while you stay focused on what matters, patient care. It's not another system to learn. It's support that actually reduces your cognitive load. Try Heidi for free today at HeidiHealth.com. Be your best you. Rely on MEGA for your protection and support, serving doctors for over 125 years through insurance, education, medical legal advice, and member benefits designed to help you thrive and succeed. Insurance issued by Medical Insurance Australia, which has not taken into account your objectives or situation. Before you make any decisions about our policies, please read our PDS and consider your needs. Call us for a copy or visit mega.com.au.